So we've kind of got to the point of, we did the analysis, we found some points of failure that we may need to address. We talked a little bit about replacement versus adding to existing systems, and probably should have asked this question kind of earlier in the equation, but since we're using this as a WebEx that we're going to record and we're sending out, how do you pick the right engineering firm? I mean, how do you get, because you guys are busy, right? You can't design everything down to that level. So you do need engineering firms to be in the equation sometimes. How do you pick the right one?
I'll go first. I've been blessed the last 20 years with a really good, solid engineering firm. And probably like most, we don't put all of our eggs in one basket. We have a couple different engineering firms we work with, but we have that house engineer.
Yeah.
And I've seen enough things go wrong with the come and go companies. It makes me really appreciate that house engineer. I think first and foremost, what you want is you want an MEP firm that has healthcare experience. Absolutely, that's a prerequisite. You want to have when they're doing their design and thinking about constructability and the shutdowns to come, you want them thinking every one of these loads serves a critical patient. You want that mindset in the design. You want it baked into the design. You don't want somebody to think that the last job they did was supplying power to freezers in a grocery store.
Yeah.
It's a total different mindset.
Yeah.
You don't want that. You want a firm with talented and creative thinkers, not just somebody that can crunch the numbers, but talented and creative thinkers. Everybody's heard, everybody has a plan until the first punch is thrown.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens during the shutdowns. There's going to be a surprise, and you better have good, talented people there to help you get through that in 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You better get through that quickly.
Yeah, like what Dan said earlier, everything works until it doesn't. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a good rule. During the design, you want a firm that considers the complexity of the shutdowns during the design. You want to begin with the end in mind. We're designing this, but one day we need to implement it. We need to construct it.
Right.
We need to do shutdowns for it. If we can make the design more palatable for the shutdowns, that's a huge win. And finally, you want a firm that works well in the integrated project delivery model. You want a firm that works well with the contractor, so that during the initial design stage, during schematic design, they can show this to the contractor, and the contractor look over it and say, I don't like how you did that. I can't build it that way, or it doesn't make sense to build it that way.
Yeah.
Go back and change that, and they do. There's no egos in the room. They happily go back, change the design, and at the end of the day, you end up with a much, much better project, much safer project.
So the MEP firms that you get, they really need to be working as a team, as in conjunction with the staff on site, with your contractors. All right, here's where we want to get. Now we got to walk backwards and see, how does the contractor actually get to the means and methods of how they're going to do it, right? Great design, I just can't make it happen, or I need much more longer time than anticipated to make this section happen. More money. So it's really, they have to be creative thinkers outside the box, because what worked for you may not work for me, and vice versa. And so they have to really look at the building individually and be familiar with the building. It's very hard when you bring in a brand new MEP firm into an existing building, for them to get to know their way around. How is this laid out? How do you get from point A to point B? Where's all this power run at? What are we going to do in there? Is there old technologies, new technologies, things like that? So you really need somebody that can dive into the details and really come up with a PACE model, a primary, alternate, contingent, emergent plans.
Yeah.
To get you through all this. So.
Understand.